Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Rangers Reviews pre-match team lineup reaction briefing. That was a long name, wasn't it, Chris? On May the 18th. It is the final day of the season and it is a dead rubber for Rangers as they kind of continue to look forward to the Scottish Cup final next week. But Chris, today is largely inconsequential. We've spoken a lot about why that's been the case in the lead up to this one. We're going to get straight into the teams for today's game between Rangers and Hearts. Hearts obviously have recorded a third place finish. They'll want to end the season strongly. Rangers will want to try and build some momentum heading into Hampden next week. How are you, Chris, and how do you see this one?
I'm good. I'm pleased it's the end of the Premiership season. It's been quite the campaign. It feels such a long time ago that we sat down at Rugby Park and watched the action unfold from Rugby Park to Tynecastle. It's been quite the journey. We wrote off Rangers doing anything this season. I think after Michael Beale left, we got to Christmas and we thought it might be on, and even just until a few weeks ago, we thought this team could go on and achieve something pretty special. As obviously history shows, that's not the case. It's not helicopter Saturday. There's nothing on the line for Rangers this afternoon. But they have to, I think, on the back of Wednesday night or Tuesday night, against Dundee, they have to put in another performance. Have to try and build a bit more momentum. Through it with another hill, and then it's on the Scottish Cup. Said to a couple of people this week and around the club, speaking to them, what a huge difference it would make to the feel of the summer if Rangers could win next weekend. It would just put everybody in a far better mood. It would shape just the Euros coming up, the gap, the downtime between the Scottish Cup final and the Euros and people getting back into football again. That would be so much easier to deal with if Rangers could do the business next Saturday. So I think that's why today carries its own importance. Yes, they have to come through it, but it's no injuries. Hopefully it's a performance. Hopefully it's a victory, just to try and get things moving and give Rangers something to head into next week with.
Yeah, and obviously Hearts have come close to beating Rangers this season. They've been beaten by them 5 times, because in both of the semi-finals of the Cups, they've had a fantastic individual season. I'm sure they'll want to make sure that when they do their lap of honour come full time, that they're doing so on the back of a victory. So by no means is it a total dead rubber for them. And Clement is named probably the strongest team he has available, Chris, although as we will get to, that doesn't count for too much when you consider how many Rangers players are still missing through injury. Let's get into the teams. Rangers line up with as expected back four, because of course yesterday at his press conference, Clement confirmed that Ridvan Yilmaz would not play from the start. So Rangers go with Jack Butland in goals, the back four, James Tavernier, Leon King, Ben Davies and Robbie Fraser, who makes his first start for Rangers. We were speaking off air, Chris, and Fraser himself said this after the game in midweek when he made his competitive Rangers debut. He's been at the club for 14 years, which is quite long. So he comes in to play at left back for a long overdue start. Thought he did well off the bench in midweek. 21-year-old, see how he does today. A midfield three that remains unchanged: the Diomande, Raskin and Cantwell. Thought they had a good game in the second half, as Clement's comments reflected against Dundee. And a front three, not the strongest Rangers front three you've seen, Chris, but it is what Clement has to work with. And it did end the game well against Dundee of Ross McCausland, Scott Wright and Cyril Dessers. The Rangers bench reads Robbie McCrory, Ridvan Yilmaz, Fabio Silva, Ryan Jack returns to the bench for the first time in a long time. Abdallah Sima, Kieran Dowell, Dujon Sterling, John Lee Fecko, and Cole McKinnon. Chris, the thing that stands out to me immediately is you've got Sima and Sterling back on the bench. That's huge, because both of those two players, alongside Ridvan Yilmaz, need to play at Hampden next week if Rangers have any chance of lifting that Scottish Cup trophy. What else stands out to you within that team? It's kind of the strongest that Clement can go with and making it competitive while still not playing players like Ridvan, who would be an injury risk if they play from the start today.
I think it was always going to be an interesting selection for the manager. Do you make wholesale changes, as much as wholesale as possible with this squad, or do you try and play guys into form? I think it's important that Nico Raskin gets another game. I think he needs another game, because I hope that he's going to start at Hampden next week. Dessers is one I would have maybe have rested. I think Dessers is going to be the better option. I would have maybe have gone with Silva through the middle and kept Dessers in reserve. There's a risk there. Thankfully, he has shown over the course of the season that he is really robust and that he can get through the games. So I think he's been the man that we've spoken about so often over the course of the campaign. But he's hugely important next week. So hopefully he can get through it. The same with Diomande. He's nailed down for me as a starter next week. So slightly surprised that he's there. But you then look at the other options. Obviously, Lundstrom not available. Ryan Jack, the manager, said just that he can only play a few minutes. Either just when there's a lot to consider. So I think it's probably the side that I expected. Dessers apart. I would have kept Big Cyril in reserve, and I think for other players like Raskin, it's important. A good afternoon for Robbie Fraser. I don't think it's going to be the one that kickstarts his Rangers career, and he'll be the first choice left back when we return to action in August. But after doing his time, if you like, and being at the club for so long, it's also an afternoon for him to cherish.
I agree with you on Dessers and Chris, and a lot of people in the comments reflecting on that. Kemar Ruth, there was some speculation as to whether he was still around the dressing room this week because of what I believe, had posted on his Instagram story. Clement, correct me if I'm wrong, you were there, but said he is still available for selection. He isn't on the bench today, and I agree with you as well on Fabio Silva, because Cyril Dessers has played a lot of football, and there looked to be a worrying moment against Dundee where he was starting to hold his hamstring at one point, but he does play from the start. Scored a fantastic header, you must say, in midweek against Dundee, and he's a player who's kind of remained in form. I think it's been others around him, although Dessers has had costly moments like that miss at Ross County away. He has largely been there when Rangers have needed him this season, at least on a selection point of view. You had that interesting piece in midweek, Chris, which looked at the proportion of minutes that recent signings have played for Rangers over this season. And if you've not read it, I encourage you to do so. But spoiler alert, not too many. I believe only 3 of the 9 who signed in the summer have played over 40% of league minutes, and 3 of the 7 the summer or the January prior to that have played over 40% of league minutes as well. Clement, I think, has been as frank as he has yet in his recent press conferences about the reality of what Rangers need to fix in the summer. But as you say, Chris, they can do so in a much better mood if they are able to get something out of the Scottish Cup final next week. I'll read the Hearts team. They go with Clark in goals, Kent, Kingsley, Beningame, who just signed a new contract, Shankland, Oda, Devlin, Rowles, Mackay, Cochrane and Vargas. So a pretty offensive team there from Hearts, who will be looking to get one over Rangers finally this season. Chris, we'll just finish by looking at, I guess, 2 key areas, which is the front 3 and the defence. Rangers won't probably line up like this at Hampden next week. Dujon Sterling and Ridvan Yilmaz and Abdallah Sima, you'd hope would come back into that. I guess a slight worry will be that there is no centre-back on the bench, no John Souter or no Leon Balogun, and you'd hope that one of those players is back fit. Clement said that Balogun was a doubt for today, which maybe suggests that he is the closer of the 2. If Rangers are going to win at Hampden, they're going to need more quality than I think is available to them today. Do you think that Clement is, while realising that today is a game that is helpful to win because they need to build a bit of momentum into next week, there will be 4 or 5 changes for next week, presuming that injuries allow that, which hasn't always been the case over the course of this season?
You would hope that when we're sitting in 7 days' time and preparing for our video at Hampden, you hope that the Rangers team news is a lot stronger than that. I said there's players in there who definitely start. Butland definitely starts. Tav, Raskin, Diomande, Dessers for me, they're the nailed-on ones. If Ridvan isn't fit to start at left back, we've got a problem. If Dujon Sterling's not fit to start, we've got a problem. And if there's no other centre half, I think we've got a real problem. Davies, I thought, has been okay since he's come back in. Leon King didn't have a good night against Dundee. Certainly for that first goal, caught out really badly. Perhaps not surprising given the lack of minutes he's played and a really short of game time and sharpness. It's not been the season that Leon would have hoped it would have been. We really need to see Souter or Balogun, ideally both. If we can get one back, just to give Rangers another option there, that would certainly be a boost. Because defensively, it's going to be so important next week at Hampden. Obviously, we know the attacking threat of Celtic, but I think you can see that for every area of the pitch. And we spoke a lot about the midfield in the aftermath of the Parkhead game. midfield has to be so much better in a variety of ways. Up front, Desser's got his goal at Parkhead, which hopefully do him the world of good if he can go and get a cup final winning one. What a remarkable way for him to end what has been a real roller coaster season. But I think you're looking at the squad that's there, you're looking at the bench, and you're looking at the players that the manager has spoken about over the course of the last week. You're looking at Rangers really needing to find an upturn in form, certainly a big boost in quality. And it's going to really need to be one final push from this squad. The manager spoke yesterday about it being the end of a cycle, and he wants to end this cycle on a high note. A number of these players won't be at the club next season. The chance is there for them to go and leave something of a legacy, if you like, but to go and try and end it on a high note.
Absolutely. We'll leave it there. Remember, folks, if you're watching and you've not subscribed to the Rangers Review, you can do so now. £4 for 4 months for top-class coverage and journalism of Rangers every single day. We'll have loads of build-up, exclusive content in the lead-up to the Scottish Cup Old Firm final next Saturday. Until then, you can join Chris and I on the briefing after the game. We'll have instant analysis and everything else you need from the game, including press conference reaction on the website and YouTube channel after the game. Until then, enjoy it wherever you're watching. Thanks for joining us.